Right, the Spring OUMTC 2024 is now closed. Thank you to every one of you that took part. We hope you found it really worthwhile experience. We have actually got a figure that 25% of all year four children in England took part in our Spring OUMTC, which is absolutely amazing. The more pupils that do it, the richer the data we can give back to you. So we had over 4,000 schools participate, over 160,000 pupils took part. The mean average score was 17.24. The autumn OUMTC mean average score was 13, so lovely to see progression there. And the best performing region was Greater London. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is how to check your current engagement levels. So we're going to flick over to the teacher dashboard and we're going to look at the sessions. Right, so in your left-hand menu, you will see sessions. And I'm going to look at showing you how to set a session. You can set a session to set targeted tasks for the children to complete. So you can choose how many minutes they play and which game mode you want them to practice in. Perfect if you want to follow our suggested MTC preparation schedule, which is in your webinar folder. All other game modes will be locked for the pupil until they have completed their session. Now, to set a session, you just go to New Session here, select the class you would like to apply to. You set the date you would like it to start and the date you would like it to end and which game mode you would like them to play in and for how many minutes as well. For example, if you would like them to play 3 sound checks a week, you would click on sound check and then you would write the number, you would type in the number 3 here. Okay. You can also choose outside of school hours only. So perhaps for homework, this might be great. And you can set it as a recurring session. So you don't have to keep going on every week to set your session. Now, once you have set your session, you can monitor who is doing their session and who is not doing their session. So you can keep an eye on engagement that way. Any sessions that are coming up are in your future tab, and any sessions that have been and gone are in your past tab here. This is a dummy school, so we've got some zeros here, but rest assured, hopefully, when you do set sessions, you will be able to see percent of who's complete and dig down into the session results here. The session bolt-on costs 10p a day or £36.50 plus VAT for the year. If you do not have the sessions bolt-on and you would like a 4-week trial, please get in touch with support@mathcircle.com and we can sort you out with that trial. Now, for those of you that don't have the sessions bolt-on or do not wish to purchase a sessions bolt-on, the quickest way to get an overview of your engagement levels is to go to Accounts, go to Classes and choose your class. And then just scan your last played here. So you can see who has played recently and who hasn't. We advocate a little and often approach. As we near the MTC, we advocate for year 4s 21 minutes a week. Okay, so have a think about whether they're logging on every day. That would be what we want. Okay, we're looking at daily usage here. So we have a guest speaker with us today. Jamie Batchelor is a TT Rockstars Entourage ambassador. So he is a power user of the TT Rockstars program. He is currently a year 4 maths teacher, and in 2023, sorry, not 2022, 3/4 of his class achieved full marks. So he has hopped on today to share his pro tips with you.
Yeah, I wanted to broadly talk today about three things. So firstly, the idea of using competitions and how they can be really, really helpful, both kind of in the classroom, making sure that all the children are getting involved there, but also outside of the classroom, making sure they're getting involved at home and that kind of thing. And the first is using the arena mode in class. So what we used to do, and it was really popular, is if you go into the multiplayer mode and you choose arena and choose your class, you can basically have that up on your screen and then tell the class, right, we're going into alto, and all the children go into alto, and you'll see their little kind of icons of their avatars appearing within this alto box here. And you can either join yourself as well and go up against the kids if you're feeling confident, or you can put it into spectate mode. So if it's in spectate mode, then on the screen you'll have the kind of it will start, and then on the screen you'll have the names of the children come up, and they'll be able to see how many they've got, and it's kind of music playing, and it's really intense, it's really fun, and the children get really into it and they really enjoy it as an activity. And that's something you can do in the classroom, which I think is really valuable, firstly because it means that you can make sure that everyone is getting involved. But secondly, if you have children who maybe aren't sure what their password is or aren't sure how it all works, it's an opportunity for them to see exactly how it works and make sure that they're getting logged on. The second thing that I use a lot is tournaments. And so I will have tournaments set up, whether that's between the different classes within the year group, or between year groups, or classes against teachers, or all kinds of different modes. And so you set up this battle of the bands here. And you can set that to be all kinds of different things between classes, as I say, but also you can set it to recur. So you might have that battle happening every week, and then you can regularly just check in and see, oh, look, 3W are doing quite well at the moment. Maybe we need to catch up. Or, oh, wow, look at us, we're winning. That's brilliant as a class. And it kind of creates a kind of really friendly, competitive environment. So the children go home and they say, I really want to get on TT Rockstars. I really want to kind of help my class with that. And then you can have individual pupil results as well. So if there are specific children who are doing really well, you can kind of praise them and they can get really excited by that. The other tournament mode that I find is really helpful is the Top of the Rocks. If you can arrange with another school to have a kind of battle against them, particularly if it's a local school where they might have friends or cousins or whatever that go to those other schools, then they can get really excited about the idea of beating another school. And that, again, just kind of pushes engagement upwards. It's really, really helpful. The second thing I'd hugely recommend is the stats bolt-on. If you haven't got it and you can, it's so good. It's so helpful for you to be able to keep an eye on and track how the children are doing yourself. But also, the children really like seeing it. So I used to come in every morning and do the register, and the children would say, Mr. Batchelor, are we going to check TT Rockstars? And what they meant by that was going into the stats and looking at the effort stats for the class. So I would come in and I'd put it on 7 days. And we do two things. The first thing we do is we order it by number of correct answers. And I would say, wow, Gyro, you're doing fantastically. You've got the most correct answers in the class. And the other thing we would do is order it by days played. And the reason why we do that is because you get certain children who are just drifting away from it. And we would always say that you should never be on 0 days that week. So obviously in this dummy school, there are quite a few children on 0 days, but we would say try never to go a full week without getting some TT Rockstars done. And so we'd look and we'd see the children who are on 1, and we'd say, oh, Gifty, you never know how long before before that 1 day is going to go, and then you'll be on 0 days. So why don't we go on today and make sure that we don't let that happen? And that kind of reminds them that it's been a little while since they've played, and it kind of keeps the engagement going for them. Additionally to that, looking at the fluency and having the heat map is really, really helpful. So they love watching how they've kind of progressed over time. So kind of move it back to the start of the year and then show them, and then press the play button and show them how it's kind of moved over time. Like, look how much more green we've got. Look at this. We've got so much better over time. And they can be really proud of that. You can also download individual heat maps. which we used to print off and stick into their books, so they can see exactly which timetables they're really strong on and which timetables maybe they need to work on specifically, and that's really, really helpful as well. The last thing, in the context of the MTC, we used to use sound checks a lot. So sound checks are essentially what the OU MTC uses, and it's a very good reflection of how they would perform in the MTC. So we'd get them to do a sound check, and they would know how they've done so far and what their target is. And for all of us, we used to all say we're trying to get to a point where we get 25 every time, no matter what. And that was the kind of goal. But of course, we wouldn't criticize children who aren't managing that, but we would all collectively know that that's where we want to get to. So if you've got the children who are really strong, it's about, no typos, no misclicks. Let's see if we can eliminate any of that. But the children who are still working on it, it's right. You started the year on 15, and now you're regularly getting 22, which means you're only 3 more away from getting 25. And they might be pushing for their first 25 and getting really excited about that. And it just pushes. And then when the OU MTC comes around, that's a really good opportunity to apply the same thing, just with a little bit of extra pressure, an extra layer of, you only get one crack at this. And that's going to be your score, which is a good representation of what the MTC itself is going to feel like. And that really pushed up our scores. And as Jen mentioned, we ended up with a really nice set of scores at the end of the year. I think it was largely down to a combination of those factors. The last thing is just in terms of creating a kind of whole school enjoyment of TT Rockstars. And we used to use custom leaderboards. Yeah, so if you go into the stats tab and then you click on custom leaderboards, you can create leaderboards that are specific to a certain kind of category. So you can say, I would like to call this leaderboard, I don't know, I'm going to call this leaderboard coins in a week. And then you can say, right, I'm going to see how many coins you've got in the last 7 days, and you choose which classes are going to get involved in that. And it creates a leaderboard just purely on what you want to see a leaderboard on. The reason why that's really helpful is, firstly, you can specify what you think is the best thing that we need to focus on. So if you've identified something that you think is really is maybe lacking, you can focus on that. And then secondarily, it immediately creates this lovely presentation, so that when you get to the end of it, it creates a presentation, and you can do that in front of the whole school if you have an assembly, and you can kind of announce who the top 3 pupils are, and then it creates certificates for them as well. So that's a good way of kind of giving the pupils something to take home, and also kind of getting a feeling and an excitement about TT Rockstars across the school, because then, your year 2 children, your year 3 children are seeing that, and they're starting to think, oh, I'm looking forward to being in year 4. I want to win one of these certificates. And it builds that excitement further down as well. So those would be the tips that I would really recommend. And I think, if you do manage to get that going, it's unbelievably helpful in terms of just seeing that progress. And the children love it and they enjoy it. And they don't see it as kind of a difficult learning thing. They see it as a really fun part of their learning. So that would be my top tips.
So obviously, Jamie, you mentioned the certificates that you hand out that are generated from the custom leaderboards, and they are a fantastic tool. I know so many schools use them already. What we wanted to add was an additional type of certificate that you can hand out to students to reward them personally. So the leaderboards are obviously competitive, and so it's students up against others, which is really fun and works really well. But the new certificate type that we've added is, if you like, a personal reward to a student when they reach a really big milestone in their times tables journey, and that is when they turn their heat map totally green. And as Jen mentioned, we call this the Gone Green certificate. So those of you are hopefully already familiar with the heat map, and I know Jamie showed this as well. To get your heat map green, it means that you must have answered every question at least 10 times, every fact at least 10 times, at a speed of 4 seconds or faster. And once a child achieves that, they will automatically get a Gone Green certificate, and you can download those certificates from the Fluency area just by clicking this button in the top left-hand corner. Now, you have to have the Stats bolt-on for this, which is another great reason to get that if you haven't already. Most schools have it, which is great. And this Stats bolt-on allows you to then choose the time period. So if you were running a weekly certificate ceremony, you can do last 7 days, choose how you want the certificate to be shown, and then this is what it looks like. So it will have the name of the student, the date that their heat map actually went green, and you can then hand this out in assembly and use it as a way of marking a milestone in their journey. And we have plans to actually add additional certificates for each table. So if a student has turned their 4s green, they'll get a certificate. We haven't quite got to that yet, so this is a ever improving feature on the site, which is great. The second thing we've added is this button here for downloading student heat maps. And I know, Jamie, you mentioned that downloading heat maps is something that you recommend, handing them out to students. Now you have the option to actually compare. So if you wanted, for example, to download the heat map from today and then add a comparison, you can go back in time, choose, it might be a year ago today, it might just be a week, it's entirely up to you. You can even add extra parent and carer information. So many teachers will print these off and send them home, or print them off for a parents' evening. They're a really great way of showing progress. So once you download these, you'll get sheets that look like this. So you'll get a before heat map and then an after heat map. And if I zoom in, you'll see at the top, it gives some information about what a heat map is for parents. And then at the bottom, it links to our parent website, which is freely accessible. You don't need login details to get to this. Anybody can access it from anywhere on the web. And this has lots of information about why times tables are important. And it goes through some top tips for parents on how to support children learning their tables. And there's a video and lots of the information. So you can print these off, send them home, and avoid having to print off letters and other resources at the same time. So if you've got the Stats bolt-on, you can use this straight away. And hopefully, Jamie, those are tools that you'll be able to start using as well. This all went live just a couple of days ago, so it's hot off the press, as Jen said. So Jen, I'll pass back over to you, and then we'll do some Q&A.